the response to your body changed over time, and why? I feel like we sort of answered that, but what do you guys think?
Well, I actually have a little something to say about that, because the response to my body, has it changed? I don't know. So when I was a teenager, I was anorexic, and I would starve myself and work out like crazy, and starve myself and work out like crazy. And I can remember a moment where my mother was so angry with me. And by the way, my anorexia had absolutely nothing to do with my body image. I did not think I was fat. I want to clear that up about anorexia right now. It is not necessarily people that there are people with body dysmorphia that are anorexic. That's a different thing. But then there are also people like I was, where I grew up in an abusive home, and not eating was my form of control. I felt like it was the only thing that I could control. I did not think I was fat, but I would starve myself because that was the only thing in my universe that I could control and have power over. And I remember my mother getting angry with me. I was so weak and so frail. And she sat me down at a table with a bowl of ramen noodle soup. And she was like, "You're going to eat that, and you're not getting up from this table until you eat every bite of it." And she didn't understand the level of illness that I was dealing with at that point in time. I couldn't even lift the fork with noodles on it. I had to pick the noodles up with my fingers and put it into my mouth. I was that weak. But I would look at myself then and be like, "You're too skinny." I knew I was too skinny. I knew I was. But there was something broken in my mind, because I guess that was like my coping mechanism of all the trauma that I was dealing with. I just wasn't going to eat. And maybe I had a little bit of a death wish. I wanted to die. I was in a miserable situation. I don't really know. But, you fast forward to today, and there are still moments where if I feel like I'm under a lot of stress, I will catch myself going, "Don't eat."
Yeah.
Don't eat. It's a coping mechanism. And I have to today, now I have tools in my toolbox that I can pull out and say, "No, you need to eat." But how I viewed myself then, I viewed myself as too skinny. And I still to this day worry about being too skinny. Karen, we had some pictures. I don't know if you remember this conversation. We were texting back and forth. I had dressed as the Grinch, and there was another time I dressed as a mermaid. And the contouring that I did of the costume makeup made my face look thin and gaunt. And I did it on purpose because I wanted that elongated face for those characters. And Karen, you had made a comment of, "Mia, you're looking a bit gaunt. And, do we need to be concerned?" And I remember being like, "I love my body. I look good. I'm in good shape. I'm eating well. Like, why did you just say that?" But I went in my head. I had to go look in the mirror, and I'm like, "Am I too thin? Do I need to worry about being too thin?" So, you have people out there that are worried about being too big, and you have people out there that are worried about being too thin. It's like, no matter what side of the scale you go on, why can't we just be happy with the body that we're in? Just be happy.
Amen.
Yeah.
But it hasn't necessarily changed for me, I guess, to answer that question. It's changed how I react to the voice in my head. So that same voice is still in my head saying, "Don't eat." And that same voice is still in my head saying, "You're too skinny." But I've changed how I react to that voice.
Right. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a discernible difference for you, Stacy?
Yes, I think, I feel like definitely the girl I was in high school, I'm more confident, and I think I embrace my body more, where before I felt like I was trying to fit that shape or that mold, because it was, because I was getting comments of like, "You're so pretty. If you were skinnier, you'd be prettier." Like, so it was like, those were the things, and I realized, like, when you were saying, why can't we be happy? It's like society, the way we're like trying to navigate this world, and then you have people coming to you with comments like this, right? Where it's like, maybe you were even thinking about it, and now you're like, is that right? Like, do I need to be skinnier in order to be prettier, in order to be desired, or have someone ask me to homecoming or to prom? And like, so then it just spirals into this idea that you start believing that opinion as truth, right? And like, I think one thing I learned was just like trying not to let these comments just stick on me, because I think it was hard, like, growing up. And then I grew up in Miami, it's like Miami's beautiful people everywhere. I'm beautiful too. But it was just like, when you're in high school, you have some of the girls, like, for their quinces, they're getting the boobs or the butt implant, and and you're like, man, I want to look more like womanly, and maybe your body is not there yet. So it was just like, I remember like begging my mom to, like, can I please shave my legs? It was just like trying to fit in, and thinking like, this is what I have to do. And I think now I'm more gentle, and I'm more realizing of like, this is my shape. I'm very fashionable. I don't have to be like, a certain weight to be fashionable. I don't have to wait. I don't have to like wait. I used to like wait to get this dress or get these pants. And it's like, no, I can buy them now and enjoy them now, And that's one thing I did differently now, where before it was like trying to like, I guess like, no, you can't get that under, and it's like some people that works for them for their goal weights, but I realized for me, it wasn't like, it was a weird kind of like goal where it was just like me punishing myself, right? Of like, you can't enjoy that until you hit this size or hit this mark, and one thing I'm trying to do is just be more present and enjoy today. And yeah, so I think, yeah, it's definitely has changed. And I think it's, I guess, part of like growing up, right? Middle school's hard.
Oh my God. Going through anything. I remember a boy one time was like, let's talk about boobs for a minute, because you get picked on too in adolescence. They're either like, woo, you develop too fast, or you're not developing fast enough. And I was very lanky and skinny as a kid. So, this guy was like, oh, you have mosquito bites, and now I'm like, now look at me, I mean, not that I have to prove anything, because now I have the problem of being too busty. If I put on a shirt, I feel like I look pregnant, those loose blouse, like I feel like I look pregnant. And it's, and again, it's one of those misconceptions. You're like, oh, I look so heavy, but it's like, no, you're busty. You're busty. You're just, the shirt's not, that's like you were saying, this isn't the right clothing for you. You have to wear clothing that, maybe accentuates those things. And I wanted to go back to what you were saying about that too, about the clothing, like you feel like you have to fit into this clothing, like you kind of punish yourself if you don't. And I think that's the one thing that's changed for me. I can't remember the woman's name, but she's the woman who, like, everybody was like, when the quarantine first happened, everybody was watching those organization videos, like how to clean out your closet. And
Marie Kondo.
Yes, Marie Kondo.
Teach you everything you need to know to discovering what sparks joy for you.
One of the things she says is, you pick something up, and if it brings you joy, then you keep it. And even if it's a dress that you can no longer fit into, like I still have my wedding dress. I still have a dress that I wore to my rehearsal barbecue, because we had a barbecue. We didn't have a dinner. Dana and I are like outdoorsy people. So I still have that dress. I might not be able to zip it up all the way because I got bustier over time. I filled out in some areas, but I love these dresses. I'm not going to get rid of my wedding dress. My mother made my wedding dress. I'm not going to get rid of one of the most memorable pieces of clothing that was the happiest day of my life, or one of. So those things bring me joy. And, sometimes I have that dress out just to look at. And I was like, I don't have the idea of, well, you can't fit into it anymore, Karen, because, you can't zip it up. Instead, what happens is, oh, I loved wearing that dress. and it brings me such joy, and I'll have all these memories attached to it. Now, why that's different from looking at a photo, I don't know, but it is somehow. And I just kind of feel like that for me has changed, is not attaching negativity to that clothing, but rather remembering the joy, as Marie Kondo puts it. And I feel like that's a really amazing transformation to make with body perception and clothing.
If I kept all of my wedding dresses, I would have no room for my costumes. Always a bride, never a bridesmaid.
Well, maybe you just don't have the right wedding gown.
Insert picture of Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes, that's an old joke of ours. Excellent. And if anybody has ideas for Diva Talk, please email us at scorpiorisingdivas@gmail.com. We'd love to hear some more topics to talk about, as well as if you want to be on the show.
Oh, yeah, we'll welcome some guests. Don't know about the men just yet.
Yeah, no boys allowed quite yet. We're in
It
our
depends on how diva you are.